Hello there, my name's Jason. I did Project B for my task, which was the platform. I did OpenCL. In my actual task, I did OpenCL for some basic image processing tasks, although in this I'm mostly just going to be talking about how OpenCL works, what the chain of command is in terms of actually getting things running. So, just some basic information. OpenGL is maintained by the Kronos group, which also does OpenGL, WebGL, all the weird OpenGL mobile offshoots, that new one. They maintain a lot of different standards. It was originally released in 2009, inspired by NVIDIA's CUDA, although they've taken divergent paths when it comes to some important things since then, but that was the initial impetus, I guess. Compared to CUDA, OpenGL is not just for GPUs. It also runs on CPUs, FPGAs, DSPs. I put etc. there. I can't really think of anything offhand. I'm sure there's something. That's not entirely true, I guess. CUDA supports CPUs as well, or used to support CPUs. I think they took that feature out at one point. So to start off with devices. A device in OpenCL is the actual physical processor that runs the OpenCL code, which is known as a kernel, which I'll talk about later. Since OpenCL supports a bunch of different devices, like I previously mentioned, a device can be a whole host of different actual processors, GPUs, CPUs, FPGAs. In OpenCL, there's kind of two different things actually running code that will communicate. There's the host application, which is the non-OpenCL part of your program. Sorry if I keep saying it compiles the kernel. Usually that's how it works. It compiles the kernel for your specific device, and then it will send that information to the device, which will actually run it and communicate back and forth with the host application. Kernels are OpenCL functions. This is the actual code that will run on your device. They're written in the actual OpenCL language, which is a C-based language, and they're not in the language of your host program, which can be basically whatever you want that can interface with OpenCL. You can have one or multiple kernels. Multiple kernels can be used to run different code at the same time on your device, assuming that it supports parallel code, although it should if it's running OpenCL. You can also use the same kernel running many times at the same time in your device, which is what you would do for something like image processing, where you want the same thing to happen on every pixel in an image, just over and over again. Programs. So a program contains the different kernels. You can have one or many kernels, and it's a .cl file. And this again is written in the actual OpenCL program. This isn't your main host application. It can be compiled at runtime, which is known as online compiling, or it can be compiled not at runtime, which is known as offline compiling. There's advantages and disadvantages to both, obviously. Online compiling is nice because one of OpenCL's biggest strengths is its portability, how many platforms it runs on. With online compiling, you can ensure that it will support any of those platforms that support that specific version of OpenCL, at least in theory, because you're compiling it for that specific platform at that time. Offline compiling, it has the advantage of being a lot faster, because you don't need to compile your code every single time. You can just have a binary file there. It also has the advantage of you not actually having to include your code in the with your program, which some people wouldn't like. Maybe it's a security risk, although I doubt much security intensive code is going to be running on in OpenCL. but that, I guess, for some people would be a disadvantage. There's also the fact that with online compiling, say if a device manufacturer updates their driver to have a more efficient compiler for, say, their GPU, and you just have a binary sitting there already compiled, you can't really take advantage of that advancement. The command queue, I wish I had more to say about the command queue. It's used by the host application to send the kernels to the different devices. It's a queue, so you can queue up different kernels for your specific device to run, and then it will run through them. The context is, it encapsulates a lot of things. It's what's used to move data back and forth between the host and the device. The command queue, which I mentioned, function arguments, buffers, all those are moved using the context. Function arguments in OpenCL, you need to set them up in a specific way. There's a specific function in your host application that you'll need to use to set up your function arguments. Buffers can be read by both the host and the driver, so they're a way to move, or the device, sorry. So they're a way to move data in and out of the device. So say if you're doing something like image processing, you can have a buffer where you write in the image on the host, and then your device can read that and modify it and write it into an output buffer, which then the host can read and save your result, for example. Just some other information. Platforms you need to get your platform data before you do anything. I guess it really contains everything about OpenCL. That will give you your information about the device that it's running on, whether it's your GPU. If you have multiple GPUs in your system, you might have multiple platforms that come up. It will also contain information about things like the extensions that your specific device supports. So carrying on from there, OpenCL vendors, just like OpenGL, WebGL, I know pretty much most Chronos supported standards can add non-standard features through extensions. So if your GPU supports something that's not part of the normal OpenCL feature set, you can add it through an extension. Although because of this, the reason they need to do this is because OpenCL, a specific version of OpenCL, will basically have a flat feature set just so it can work across every single device. It's supposed to, at least in theory, be completely portable across every device that runs that version of OpenCL. So because of that, some features that may be accessible on certain devices through extensions won't be able to run on every device, but because of that, it maintains its portability. All right, thank you for your time. I'm done now.